I feel the need to mention again that I just came back from a masquerade ball, which explains this makeup. But in my last video, I went over some commonly mispronounced words and then how to kind of remedy that and gain awareness by pronouncing slowly and doing so in sing-song variety and different accents to kind of get it into your body. But then I was thinking, well, what do you do if you hear someone say one of these words so very pronounced incorrectly and butchering the English language? Now, if they're not a native speaker, they kind of have they probably are more open naturally to correction. But if they're a native English speaker, it's kind of hard to have an excuse for that. It's like, did they just sleep through English class? Or, hearing others speak? I remember even asking someone who said ask instead of or said ax instead of ask. I just said, hey, how come you say ax instead of ask? And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, what do you mean, what do you mean? Or what do I mean? I'm thinking, do you not hear it? And it seemed that she had no awareness of it. So awareness is the first step in many elements of life. But one thing that can be helpful is knowing how to ask someone if they would like correction. I actually knew someone who very particularly did not like to be corrected, especially by people close to her, like her boyfriend, for example. And because that was so offensive to her, as a friend, I didn't really want to say anything. But at the same time, you want to make sure people are presenting themselves. If you love them, you want them to be presenting their best self. And if you know they're educated, it'd be great if they could sound that way. And occasionally, if you're with someone and they're doing something kind of strange, you can almost feel like responsible for them. Like a parent who's got a kid that's acting up, they might be embarrassed that their kid's doing that. And even if someone's a peer, it can be kind of like, let's say you were in another country and they didn't know the custom. I've heard that in some countries it's considered very rude to blow your nose, so they'd rather be like and just suck it back, because apparently that's not a problem, even though many people consider that sound very annoying. So if you were with someone who didn't, let's say you lived in a country and they were visiting you, you'd want to correct them, and it would be kind of embarrassing for you if they continue doing that, even if you're peers. So what do you do and how do you ask? Asking if it's okay to correct them is a great option, because if you just come bulldozing in, hey, you're doing that wrong, do it this way, well, then you're demanding that they do it and change, and they may not want to, and you're kind of taking an authority position, even if you might be equals to start out. Even a teacher who's really nice might come over and say, hey, Johnny, do you mind if I, help you with your math homework? Or do you mind if I offer you a suggestion? Or is it okay if I give you a little help or correction there? And that way they keep their agency. They still have the choice whether to say yes or no. And hopefully, if they know that you have some knowledge they could use, they will say, I would love some help and I would love your input. But it doesn't leave them without a choice. You're asking, do you mind if I? Could I? Can I? Hey, could I share something with you? Leaving people to have their agency is a pretty big factor in getting along with people. And so if you genuinely care that they present themselves in the best light, and you want to help them and not leave them kind of in the dark, but you also don't want to hurt their feelings and come, careening in like you know everything, one of the best ways is to just ask. Hey, do you mind if I share something with you? Or, hey, asking, is it okay if I mention something about a pronunciation? And if you're in public and someone else would hear that, you might want to wait till later when it's private, because they might be embarrassed otherwise. Or you could, I suppose, do it in an email or text, but probably best in person, because they might think it's it's harder to tell people's tones of voice when it's not in person, and they might not get what your intention is. They might think you're saying it in a different tone of voice, or that's a bigger deal. But ideally, in a more private situation, and asking first, may I help you? Just like, actually, the other day I was at BJ's, and this woman had tons in her carriage, top and bottom, and I was waiting in a different line But I was waiting. I still had a while to even get my few items on the conveyor belt. And I asked this woman, hey, do you mind if I help you put your stuff on the conveyor belt? It wasn't because it was going to make it go quicker for me. Like I was waiting for her and, pushing her to rush. I said, I'm going to be waiting in this line anyway. Do you mind if I help you? She actually took my help. I was very happy about that. And I got a good workout because I was like squatting down for the bottom stuff. And, she was a little bit older, so she didn't have to do all that bending and lifting. So we both won. I got some more exercise and she, had less strain on her back. But could you imagine if I just went over and started doing it? There's a couple people who might do that, but it might not end well. They might be like, hey, what are you doing? Like, don't touch my stuff. So you can get a lot of leeway when you ask, and it's pretty much always a better idea to ask than to just do. I mean, I was thinking, unless someone's on fire, but who knows? Maybe they're filming a video and they're a stunt person and you're just ruining their shot. So really, in most cases, just ask. Have a good night.